the updated legislation. Chairman House Committee on Security, Ololade Gbegudu, who submitted reports on the bill, said it will boost efforts of the security network in the fight against crime in the state. While deliberating on the importance of the bill, other lawmakers noted that its passage became imperative following recent attacks in some parts of the state, saying it will further equip the Amotekun Corps to effectively discharge its responsibilities.
I rise to move a motion that Ondo State Security Network Agency and Amotekun Corps Law Amendment 2022, third reading and pass to law. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
I rise to second the motion. Earlier moved by the majority leader of this House, Honorable Monashiri, that the Ondo State Security Network Agency and Amotekun Corps Law Amendment 2022 to move to third reading and approve passed law. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Speaker, Mr. Bamidele Oleyelogun, while passing the bill into law, said it will further strengthen the security architecture of the state.
Honorable colleague, the motion has been moved and duly seconded that a bill for a law to amend the Ondo State Security Network and Amotekun Corps Law 2022 move to the third reading at the same time pass into law. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Against the ayes have it. Thank you, Honorable President. Law.
The House also considered the submission of reports on the bill for the establishment of the Ondo State Security Trust Fund 2022 and subsequently passed it into law. Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi, Osrc News.
Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu has received the report of the Advisory Committee on Land Disputes in Igbokoda in the larger local government area of the state. Receiving the report at his office in Akure, Governor Akeredolu applauded efforts of the committee, noting that all hands must be on deck to discourage land grabbing in society. Akeredolu stressed the need to always abide by relevant laws guiding the conduct and operations of residents. Governor's correspondent Wahab Bankole reports that the governor also had in audience the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 17.
Our former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Ondo State, Mr. Abdul Kabir Ajana, led members of the Advisory Committee on Igbokoda Land Disputes to the Governor's office in Akure for the submission of his report. Mr. Ajana, who is also a former secretary to the state government, commiserated with the state and its people following the overchurch terror attack, noting that the committee carried out public hearing on the land disputes after receiving 4 memoranda.
Upon receiving appointment on the 9th of May 2022, we contacted stakeholders for memoranda. Upon analyzing the memo by members, we held a public sitting where stakeholders were able to speak to their memo and were able to also ask for clarifications from one another.
Governor Akeredolu appreciated and commended the committee's efforts, stressing the need to discourage land grabbing.
You have said that this report, communal land disputes in Igbokoda, can be put behind us. We will try. It's not an easy thing. There is nowhere, at least in Yoruba land or anywhere in the world, except in Nigeria. I don't know about the other places. Communal land disputes keep recurring and become a sore point for every community until people grow around obas or kings who can do away with all this what I would call land grabbing.
He encouraged traditional rulers to play key roles in ensuring peace in their domains. Meanwhile, the governor also received in audience the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 17, comprising Ondo and Ekiti states. The new AIG, Mr. Yunus Muhammad Akira, applauded the strides of the governor towards redefining governance, which are promised to give needed support.
Well, I'm coming to meet my brother to make sure what you have been doing, the good work you have been doing, is carried forward and deepened more.
Governor Akeredolu, who appreciated the visit, noted that the police command system in Nigeria is overstretched and restated his call for the creation of state police. According to him, more efforts must be put into intelligence gathering.
If not for lack of intelligence, Mohammed, when people just come and attack Kuje prison and go away, they will say that they can attack the print. In Abuja, if not for lack of intelligence, so Mr. President's convoy, advanced convoy, some people will come and attack it.
The governor promised his administration's continued support to the police in Ondo State. Wahab Bankole, Osrc News.
Towards preventing flooding in Ondo State, the partner of the state's government on ecology and environmental issues, ZL Global Alliance, says it will not relent efforts at keeping the state safe from the national mishap. The report is presented from our studio.
Rainy season is usually anticipated because of its impact on human activities such as agriculture. However, it also comes with its peculiarities, resulting in natural distress such as flooding. This occurs when water cannot find a normal course of passage. The menace is usually triggered by improper waste disposal and management, as well as lack of effective implementation of environmental protection laws. These have culminated in flooding that in turn destroyed lives and properties. In Lagos State recently, flood wreaked havoc in many areas, with many properties including cars and buses, as well as other properties lost to the natural disaster. Many times, meteorological predictions have placed Ondo State on red alert as being prone to flooding. However, the Akeredolu administration has at all times taken the bull by the horn in tackling potential causative factors. Government deployed men and resources to deal with the menace through the Operation Flush and the purchase and deployment of Swambugi to the senatorial districts of the state towards ensuring that every area is touched in the channelization and desilting work. These efforts have paid off as the rains have been prevented from causing flood that could wreak untold hardship. The official partner of the Ondo State government in waste management and environmental issues, ZL Global Alliance, has also left nothing to chances in ensuring proper management of the environment.
ZL Global Alliance is promising, and we will continue to promise Ondo State government that we will not relent. We will deliver the perceived impossible in the area of flood control and waste management.
Government on its part says it remains committed to the proper management of the environment towards preventing flood in the state. As the government plays its part, the people are also encouraged to see to proper waste management by paying the prescribed amounts to the private sector participating companies saddled with waste collection and disposal. They must also have the prescribed dustbin in aiding the collection of their waste. The people must also desist from acts capable of blocking waterways. Once all hands remain on deck, Ondo State is sure insulated from the pains and sorrows of flooding.
Patients have been advised to exercise their right to know the side effects of drugs prescribed for them by doctors. Medical practitioners who spoke with Osrc on the application of side effects from drugs helped on the need for physicians to also intimate their patients on the consequences of drug use. Osrc's Sahid Aribisala has more.
The relationship between a patient and a physician is said to be based on trust, a situation where both sides, and indeed the physician, is expected to prioritize the welfare of the individual seeking medical attention, while the patients on their path are required to provide needed information. But of concern to many in recent times, particularly patients, is the prescription of drugs by physicians without an explicit insight into the side effects of such on the patients.
Once they prescribe, we just go ahead to the pharmacist and get it. They never told us the negative effect. So that's all.
Yeah, it's their duty, but you know, most times the next patient is waiting. So they may not give you the details. They dwell much more on the diagnosis, the examinations, and the treatment plan.
According to data from 2011 to mid-2017, the United States Food and Drug Administration received more than 5.4 million reports of prescription drug adverse events, including more than 1 million deaths. While different medicines can cause side effects of varying degree, a former permanent secretary in Ondo State Ministry of Health, Dr. Tayoni, said the onus is on medical practitioners to educate their patients.
No drug without, some other effect. Not necessarily adverse, but it may be unwanted effect. For example, somebody has a cold, you are giving, or some allergy, you are giving antihistamine. The thing is to suppress the allergy, right? But there is no antihistamine that will not make you drowsy. It's just that the degree of drowsiness may be different. So you need to explain to that patient that this drug will take care of your cold, the common cold, but you are likely to have some drowsiness, sleepiness. And if you don't even tell the patient that, he will not know when to stop.
The chairman, Nigerian Medical Association, Ondo State Chapter, Dr. Stella Adegbeyingbe, added that patients also have the right to ask their physician the side effect of any medication.
I always ask my patients, what other question do you want to ask me? Ask now. What of that question do you have? It's good to tell the patient. They have the right to know what you are treating them for. They have the right to know the diagnosis. You should discuss with your patient. This is the diagnosis. This is what we are treating you for. You are going to use the medication for this number of time. I will need to see you to see the effect of the medication. That's why we tell patients, we don't prescribe and you go forever. We give you time to come back because there are different drugs with different mode of action. There are different drugs that will, when you start seeing the effect of the drug, it takes time. So there are some patients you say, I want to see you in a week. Some, I will tell them, we want to see you in 2 months. Some will tell you, we want to see you in 3 months, depending on the type of medication or what the diagnosis is.
The role of pharmacist in the healthcare chain cannot be overemphasized.
It is the obligatory duty and responsibility of a pharmacist who will fill those prescriptions to look out for drug-drug interaction and side effects.
Most drugs are eliminated from the body after they had been absorbed and distributed around the systems. However, the side effects of such drugs may remain for some time, hence the need for improved awareness and education by concerned parties. Sahid Aribisala, Osrc News.
Pastor David Anifowoshe of the Whole Bible Believers Church and 4 others who allegedly kidnapped 77 members of his church have been arraigned before an Akure Magistrate Court in Ondo State. The case came up for mention today as the Defense Counsel Ayodele Oladele pleaded for time to go through the application asking the court to remand the suspect, Julebuna reports.
Last week, Saturday, Nigerians woke up to the news of a pastor, David Anifowoshe, and others aborting 23 children, 54 adults at a dungeon in his church at Ondo City. After preliminary investigations by the police, the 5 suspects are now having their days before the court in Akure. They were brought before a magistrate court for first hearing. Counsel to the complainant, who is also the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice in Ondo State, filed for remand application, a move which was cancelled by the defense counsel Ayola Oladele on the grounds that he was not in the know before his appearance in court. Mr. Oladele prayed the court to adjourn the case to allow him to react to the application. After hearing both arguments, Magistrate Rashidat Yakubu, citing Section 269 of Administration of Criminal Justice Law, ruled that the case be adjourned to avail the defense counsel
adequate time to respond to the remand application. And then the court was of the opinion that they are entitled to react to the remand application, because we are seeking that they should be remanded in prison while we look into the case, especially illegal advice from the office of DPP. And then ordinarily the case that was brought before this court is a case which this court has no jurisdiction, being a magistrate court. But the provision of the ACGL permit this court to remand them in prison while the office of DPP will issue the legal advice. So in the process of remanding them, counsel require for more time to study the application to remand them. And so the court has adjourned it tomorrow for us to take the application to remand them in prison before the office of DPP will issue a legal advice on this matter.
On his part, the defense counsel Ayola Oladele said he would go through the application in the interest of justice for his client.
They ought to give us enough time in order to react to it. And they are just putting it in my hand in the court. I can't even have time to read through. It runs to several pages. So the court has to allow me in the interest of justice to go through. That right they are talking about, I initiated the right. These people were illegally whisked from their church.
Pastor Anifowoshi and his assistants were arrested by men of the Ondo State Police Command last week for suspected kidnap of 77 members of his church. The case was adjourned till Friday, the 8th of July 2022. Juliet Buna, Osrc News.
The federal lawmaker representing Ile-Oluji Okegbo Odigbo Federal Constituency, Mayowa Akinfolarin, has urged APC members to show commitment and loyalty to the party as preparations for 2023 general elections gather momentum. The lawmaker spoke at Odigbo while giving empowerment items to his constituents. Our correspondent Kunle Ariyo reports that Mr. Akinfolarin also commissioned ICT center built for his alma mater.
It shall be of immense benefit to them in Jesus' name. Amen.
The Information and Communication Technology Center at Isero Grammar School in Odiwo local government area of Ondo State can now boast of our state-of-the-state equipment. This was facilitated by the lawmaker representing Ile-Oluji Okegbo Odigbo Federal Constituency, Mayowa Akinfolarin, an alumnus of the school. The principal of Isero Grammar School, Mrs. Awen, said the lawmaker has contributed immensely to the growth and development of the school. The Tutor General of Ile-Oluji Odigbo Zone, Mr. Uni Moronfolu, described the project as a commendable venture which will afford the students the unique opportunity to compete with their counterparts around the world. Mayowa Akinfolarin described Isero Grammar School as the ghost that laid the golden egg.
I started my journey of life from this place, and I owe it a duty. I carry that moral responsibility to give back to this school, and I'll be doing it. I'll continue to do it. I want to assure my people, the students here, the teachers here, come August, Sunday, September, you have new classroom, 6 classrooms, and I'm going to start it immediately.
Also, hundreds of constituents were empowered with motorcycles, sewing machines, generators, grounding machines, and vehicles. Others benefited in cash as financial support for their businesses. Mr. Akinfolarin stated that the empowerment program becomes important in order to help a good number of people in the constituency to become self-sufficient. He urged them to be loyal to the All Progressives Congress APC as general elections beckon.
The majority of our people here, they are farmers, and the only way one can reciprocate their gesture is to support them.
Where sometimes we engage on grading of roads, rural roads. Now to complement it, we need to encourage them in terms of their farm implements. That is why I'm giving out this tractor and these mini tractors. Then for our people that really suffered and toiled for the party, I'm giving out motorcycle grinding machine as a way of saying thank you, and generator and others. This is just the beginning. I must encourage the party, I must work for the party, I must support the party to make sure we really achieve victory.
Some of the beneficiaries thanked Akin Folani for his magnanimity and for always identify with his people.
People have looked at me as somebody who doesn't have anything in future. But today, he assists me for this car.
Anybody totally close to it. Obvious.
No doubt, more constituents look forward to more dividend of democracy. Kunle Aluyo, Osrc News.
Following the European Union threat to reject all cocoa beans from sustainability sourced especially from Nigeria, John Vent Industry Limited in Ondo State has embarked on an empowerment program across the country to address the situation. Managing Director of the company, John Alamu, who spoke at the kick-off ceremony of John Vent's Cocoa Sustainability and Farmers Empowerment Program in Akure, the state capital, maintained that 150,000 cocoa farmers are projected to be trained and empowered in the next 5 years. Omorion Lakungbeji reports that the program, which attracted farmers from Ondo and Osun State, has earlier trained the farmers for 2 days.
Cocoa is one of the leading cash crops in Nigeria and currently facing some challenges that have made the country's production level decline. Hence, the need to come up with strategies to address the situation. John Vent Industries Limited is an indigenous agribusiness committed to driving sustainable growth for agri-trading, cocoa production, and processing in the country. Managing Director of the company, John Alamu, maintained that the John Vent industry takes cocoa farmers as its priority, hence empowering them with the right training, inputs, and farmlands.
As a global business in Africa, we have positioned ourselves for the future. Other producing countries in Africa, accounting for over 71% of Rainfall Alliance certified cocoa sold to the EU markets, are working towards ensuring a sustainable cocoa ecosystem.
Governor of Ondo State, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, who was represented by his Senior Special Assistant on Agri and Agribusiness, Mr. Akin Olotu, commended John Vent Industry for its initiatives in the agribusiness to complement government efforts.
We shall continue to provide an enabling environment for agribusiness to thrive, especially by re-energizing our gallant Amotekun Corps to subdue the security challenge in our farmsteads and communities.
Other dignitaries at the event, including the Jegun of Ileoluji, Oba Julius Adetime, National President, Cocoa Association of Nigeria, Mufutau Abolarinwa, and representatives of the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria disclosed that Nigeria is not doing well currently in cocoa production and exportation, but can be improved upon.
The results of what they are doing, you will see in the improvement of our GDP, because they can be seen in making good contribution to the growth of our GDP.
All of us have to work together as a group to achieve this result. Both the exporters, the farmers, the processors, we have to be on a single page. Because those who want to buy our cocoa in abroad, they don't know whether you are a receiver, they don't know whether you are exporters, they don't know whether you are a processor.
Nigeria and most of African countries, we produce cocoa, but we do not consume much of it. The bulk is being consumed by Europeans and Americans, and we know in their own they are careful of whatever they take into their system.
Some beneficiaries expressed delight at the gesture. Among items distributed to the beneficiaries include agrochemical packages for cocoa farmers, some cocoa seedlings, among others. Omoriola Humbiji, Osrc News.
And that ends the bulletin for this afternoon. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon.